On behalf of my fellow co-chairs, Faggy Margaretin and Dara Sussman, and all of the Federation's Young Leadership Division, we want to welcome you to tonight's virtual event. As many of you know, YLD connects Jewish young adults to each other and the community through social, volunteer, leadership, and philanthropic opportunities. While the way we're creating community has changed in the face of COVID-19, the mission remains the same. So we're excited to have you here tonight to help continue to be together even while we're apart. Before we get started, we want to go over a few of the Zoom features that we'll be using for tonight's discussion. As you can see, everyone is muted except for me, so that there's no feedback or audio issues or anything like that during the discussion. But we do want all of you that are watching to participate, and you can do so in the following ways. Just so you know, we have prepared questions for the panelists that we will ask them to keep the conversation going, but at any time, if you have a question that you want to answer, please feel free to write it in the chat box. Just hit the chat function, it'll pop up on the right side, and you can just type in a message to everyone. We'll be monitoring the chat box as this goes along, and we'll jump in with those questions for you. If you want to make a comment that you actually can speak to, please just use the raised hand feature at the bottom of the screen, and we'll see that pop up. If you raise your hand, we'll call on you, and then you can just shout out the question. So, without further ado, I am very happy and very proud to introduce our three panelists tonight. They are very dynamic individuals, and we're very lucky to have them here. The first panelist is Aaron Saltzman of Dave's and Lucky's Markets. I want to give a little background about Aaron. I'm sure many of you know him, but Aaron is a member of the Saltzman family, obviously. They are the owners of Dave's Markets. The family operates 13 Dave's locations, and their stores provide Cleveland and the surrounding inner ring suburbs with first-class full-service supermarkets. In addition, the family recently, just last month, purchased the Cleveland and Columbus Lucky's Market locations. And all in all, the Saltzman family employs 1,500 team members. Aaron personally is a graduate of the Fisher College of Business at Ohio State. And following graduation, he went on to earn his CPA and worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers before joining back up in the family business. Thank you, Aaron, so much for being here. Our next panelist is Rachel Zuchowski of Tibor's Kosher Meats. Rachel is a lifelong Clevelander. She's been working at Tibor's Kosher Meats in University Heights since her family bought the business last year in September. Rachel is the business manager, and in that position, she loves connecting with and providing high quality meats to her community. Her favorite thing about her role is bringing fresh perspectives and new menu items while maintaining the traditions and values that has made the 30-year-old business so successful. Rachel is a mother to three. She lives in Beechwood, and prior to working at Tibor's, she worked at a finance firm for 12 years. Just so you know, her favorite Tibor's menu item is the spicy beef tips. And last but not least is Jeremy Umansky. Many of you know Jeremy as the proprietor of Larder, Delicatessen and Bakery. Jeremy is the chef and owner, and they were recently nominated by the prestigious James Beard Foundation as the best new restaurant in America. He's been featured in numerous publications like Bon Appetit and Savor, and was named the Deli Prophet by Food and Wine in their March 2019 Makers issue. Again, to the three of you, thank you so much for being here and making this event amazing. So as I discussed in the opening, we want the entire audience to jump in and participate with any questions that they might have. But for you three panelists, we also want you to feel free to engage with each other as questions are being asked, and just build on one another if you feel like there's something that you think is relevant. So Going in the order that we introduced you all, I want to start with Aaron. Aaron, can you just give us kind of a brief background of the business, how it came to be, and then importantly, as we're here in light of the COVID-19 pandemic, kind of how the business has been affected or impacted by that pandemic.
Sure. Well, Jeff, is a starting point. Thank you for that introduction, and humbled to be here alongside Jeremy and Rachel and tonight. So as was indicated, I'm a fifth generation family member actually with Dave's. We go back to around 1930, back to my great-great-grandfather, who sold produce out of a wagon on the east side of Cleveland. He named a very small storefront after his son, my great-grandfather Dave, who then built a little produce market, of which my grandfather expanded upon at its first site over the years. From there, he took a leap and expanded to some additional locations. And from there, my father Dan and Uncle Steve supported him in growing the business. And at this point, I'm a fifth generation member, as I said, working with my brother David and our fifth generation. Really for us, we operate 13 Dave's locations. 7 are in the city of Cleveland, 5 are in suburbs, and really one of which is in Akron as well. And our mission really is, we take a lot of pride in each of our stores and in each neighborhood that we operate in, being a direct reflection of that neighborhood that its service is. So we do our very best in each of our stores to connect that store, be it through our team members that work in the stores, to the experience to our customers to reflect that. As was indicated, we were very excited about an opportunity that came our way in purchasing 2 Lucky's Market locations in Ohio just back in April, one of which is on the border of Cleveland and Lakewood, which hopefully some of you are familiar with. For our business, I guess I just wanted to share as a starting point, our priority throughout this pandemic has been, as a starting point, safety, prioritizing the safety of our team members and of our customers, which I'll expand upon as we talk more. From there, from a business perspective, we were focused on getting product into our stores and having product available for our customers and an ongoing, as this pandemic has continued on. So that's the foundation, and definitely look forward to sharing more.
Yeah, we're definitely going to circle back on a lot of the items that you just brought up. Rachel, what about you? We know you bought the business about a year ago, but tell us how you got there and how you've been impacted.
Okay, so the business was originally started by Michael Altman, at least 50 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. He actually passed away within the last 2 years. And Michael sold the business to Irene and Tibor Rosenberg, who up until this past September were the owners for 33 years, operating out of the same location on Green Road, almost at Cedar, across from Heinen's. An East Sider probably knows it. And so my brother, Elon, who is actually the owner, after high school, he went to Israel for 2 years. And when he came back, he started working at Tibor's. And the conversation kind of started. Tibor was kind of thinking about retiring and what his next steps were. Being in this type of business for 33 years is trying on anyone. And so my brother started working there with the intention of potentially owning it. So is this something that he wants to do? Is this something that he enjoys? And it turned out that it was. And so we purchased it from them in September. And thank God everything's been going well. No one could have ever seen this type of life that we're all living amongst COVID-19 happening. And so again, like Erin was saying, we also took safety very seriously and have adapted kind of as things. Our store happens to be very small. It's not the size of a full-blown supermarket. And so we actually closed the doors for a week or so to no customers at all. And then we slowly but surely opened back up, limiting the amount of people, ensuring that not only are the community members safe, but also our employees as well. And again, I talk a little bit more in depth about some of the other safety measures that we've taken.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And we'll circle back on those, of course. And Mr. Umansky, Jeremy.
Hey, Jeff.
What about you? Tell us your story and how you've been doing with this pandemic.
Yeah. So I've been cooking for a long time. I was super fortunate. My grandmother ran the catering at B'nai Ashern for many, many years. And that's where I fell in love with Jewish food. As time went on, I eventually became a chef, and I worked in agriculture and food activism and these various things, and made my way back to Cleveland, left for a while, brought a wife with me who's awesome and who gave me a beautiful daughter. And we set out to create a delicatessen that we felt was missing from deli culture. We had decided that most of the delicatessens we're used to nowadays are drastically different from what they were 100, 125 years ago. So we wanted to kind of harken back to that and create a delicatessen where everything from the vinegar that's used to make the mustard to the pastrami to the breads were all produced on site. So we sent to do that with Larder. Originally, we wanted to name the delicatessen Schmaltz, but there's already a Schmaltz Deli, so we were told we couldn't do that. And the next best thing for us was Larder. A larder is an above-ground root cellar. And we make all sorts of like canned preserves and put up our tomato sauce, and we make cured meat and that sort of thing. So that's what we stuck with. We opened literally the end of April was 2 years for us. So just recently. It's been a fantastic ride, and we've gotten a lot of support from the Cleveland community. We focus on this breadth of, we didn't necessarily just want to limit ourselves to what we in our lens consider like Jewish cuisine. So we kind of broaden out to all of Eastern Europe and parts of Russia and whatnot. So we focus on all of that. This has been quite a challenge, to say the least. We've always, it's a small place. We only have 26 seats, but it's the type of place where we could have a packed dining house and then there'd still be a line snaking through to the door. And we kind of realized with this, like that just can't happen anymore. When the governor shut down restaurants for dine-in and whatnot and bars, we ended up closing for 3 weeks. Part of that was I had gotten sick and just wanted to make sure I was okay. My family was okay. The other part, it took us just about 2 weeks to get masks and hand sanitizer and that sort of thing that the state mandated we need to have not only for our employees, but also for our guests. We also have closed down our dining room. We don't allow more than 7 people in at a time, social distancing. All of our employees wear masks at all times. We don't let anybody in the location unless their face is covered. And we're super grateful that the Cleveland community has been super understanding of that. I think we see a lot of people come in and out of the doors, and there's only been 2 instances in the past roughly 6 weeks since we've been back open where someone's given us an issue, had a problem with that. So we're doing to-go food. Things are working for now. Definitely a challenge. We don't plan on opening our dining room anytime soon. For now, this is working. We don't know what's to come. We'd rather stick with something that is working versus trying to play this cat and mouse back and forth. So that's where we are.
It's a wild ride for all of you, clearly. But it's great to hear that all 3 are open, doing business on some level at least. Going back to Rachel. Rachel, what can people expect if they come to Tibor's?
From a safety perspective.
Yeah, I mean, what's?
I guess from a safety perspective, we have put up plexiglass by the deli and by the cashier. We have hand sanitizer for people and a sign hanging up for people to use when they come in. And our employees, our butchers in the back have worn gloves forever, way prior to COVID, just from we're monitored by the health department because of the type of establishment we are. So we've always had, safety and cleaning protocols in place way before this. And we get surprise visits from them. So everyone's wearing gloves. The employees are wearing masks. Most customers do wear masks. We're trying not to also let children into the store, which has been working fine. We haven't really had any issue with that. And then what you'll, so we're just, again, trying to just also very, again, because the store is small, keeping a very close eye on how many people we do allow in the door, and we do at times have lines outside. But we've been doing also a lot of orders through email, which we had never done before, because this way people can put in their orders and they can provide their credit card information, and they can call. They can either come in and we give them their order and they leave, or they can call when they're in the parking lot and we'll bring the order out to the car for them.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Jeff, if I may, I think Rachel touched on something that's fantastic and applies to all 3 of us. Like, we're all already regulated by various, jurisdictions, whether it's state health or local health or whatnot, county. So all of us as operators already have extremely stringent protocol in place for food safety, which also translates, food safety is controlling and preventing pathogens, right? Things that make you sick from getting into the food. So from our, at least, at Larder, our standpoint of dealing with COVID with this, it's no different. We've taken the extra steps of like masks and, social distancing and that sort of thing. Yeah. But we all already have these stringent procedures in place that are constantly monitored, surprise visits, scheduled visits, all these things. So we want to reassure like the Cleveland community that anywhere they go to eat, whether it's one of our establishments or they go to, there's so many great minority owned businesses like in Asia Town and there's just so many food-based businesses they can go to, that all of these places are being monitored and being inspected for that. So people should feel comfortable knowing that that's happening.
Yeah, that's really good to know. Aaron, from your point of view, we, especially at the beginning while the pandemic was really just starting, there were so many supply issues and everyone was rushing to their grocer to grab things off the shelves, whether they needed it or not, just to stock up. And there were some questions about supply issues and how can't we, go to the grocery, and whether it's toilet paper or Hebrew National Salami. For some reason, you know, where did it go? So what were the difficulties from your end as far as keeping the shelf stocked, and what did you guys do to counteract that?
Sure. I mean, you know, from the grocery store perspective, you know, I certainly just echo, you know, the sentiment, you know, that was shared. This was, you know, a time like we haven't seen before, right? None of us have. And, you know, we as a business that, you know, stayed open throughout, and you know, we found ourselves as a business making decisions in minutes and hours that might have been decisions we would have been making in weeks. You know, as Jeremy was indicating, you know, that was working to listen to what was being guided by the health departments, by the state of Ohio, from the CDC, and trying to make the decisions to be our very best, and looking at ourselves as owners running a business, feeling confident in the decisions we were making. And I did want to make a point on this one to just say, for any businesses that are getting back online or finding a path from here, taking that information and finding the most effective ways to communicate it throughout your respective organizations is so critical. Regarding supply, I mean, certainly many of you saw, as you've been in grocery stores, certain items that could be hard to come by throughout this pandemic. Some of the Clorox wipes, the sanitizers, and of course the famous toilet paper. I guess, you know, what I would, you know, say there, you know, I think it's something for everyone to understand, maybe just a means of, from a grocery example, how the economy at large has been impacted, of course, and how so many different channels affect one another. So, you know, ultimately, you know, many manufacturers and suppliers of product that were, of course, doing, you know, their part to keep their team members safe and also get product where it needed to go, found challenges, and that trickled through ultimately to some of the challenges, right, that sometimes are seen, you know, on the shelves of a grocery store. I would say, you know, we've been very, very fortunate on our end that we have some incredible partners and suppliers out there that maybe are companies that we've done business with for many, many years that we haven't bought items from on a normal day-to-day basis pre-COVID. Maybe they're not the same brands you might always see, but it was our objective to get product on the shelves and onto the sales floor. And so many of our partners have been so incredibly supportive of us. And I think those type of outside the box ways to find paths to get around hurdles are the ways that I think many businesses in different industries can not only answer the supply question, but answer their own questions as it relates to their businesses.
I just want to chime in with a question from the gallery. Rachel, question for you. Are you delivering kosher meats? And if so, how far away and what is the minimum order?
We are doing delivery, pretty local. I don't think we've gone past like Solon and Pepper Pike. We do ship, but we ship overnight, and because obviously, and most of the time we need a little notice, because if we're going to ship, we like to freeze everything. So especially now with it being, you know, with the weather warming up, it gives us, you know, we're able, if we get the notice, we're able to put the order together, freeze it, and then we can ship it out overnight. It tends to at times be costly because of the overnight and also because of the weight, but it is an option. So any, so if someone in particular, has a specific situation that they want to talk to us about or a need, they can email us, tiborsmeats@gmail.com. And we can communicate that way and work it out, or try our best to work it out.
Thank you, Rachel. And Jeremy, question for you. Which is your favorite Cleveland restaurant outside your own?
Oh, that's a really good question. I guess it depends on my mood. I would have to say if I were to pick one restaurant that I feel sums up all of Cleveland as a whole, it would be Sokolowski's University Inn. It's to think of it like children, right? Like, okay, you can't really pick a favorite, but you got one that you go to a little more, you like spend a little more time with. That's the reality there. So I love Sokolowski's, but there's so many for really good Cantonese food. I love Han Kebab, which is on Payne Avenue in Asiatown. Italian food, one of my go-tos is Flour out in Moreland Hills. There's Irie Jamaican Kitchen is like really good. So it depends on what I'm in the mood for. So
Can I weigh in and say Larder? My girlfriend picked up some delicious buffalo chicken dip earlier this afternoon.
Oh,
Jeremy,
yeah.
my fridge right now. Fantastic.
Aaron came to Larder for his birthday meal.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Let me ask another one from the audience here. Ben Milgram asked, to all three of you guys, I'll just read the question verbatim. How has the decision to allow or not allow technologies like Instacart and DoorDash and Uber Eats impact your business? What's been the thought process behind whether or not to do business with them? Aaron, you want to start on that one?
Sure. We have had a relationship with Instacart as far as outsourcing grocery delivery to them for a little while now. Certainly, from our perspective, it brings another means for certainly customers to get their groceries while we love for them to come in our stores. As far as how it relates to COVID, I think Instacart, like any of our partners, we've taken a lot of pride in expressing continuity of our policies that we put forth to protect the safety of our team members and customers alike with third parties. And I think, as it relates to grocery delivery in the pandemic, it certainly provides people that have that enhanced level of comfort what that means to have the option.
Either Rachel, Jeremy, have you guys considered using those services? Do you use them? What do you think?
Rachel, you can go first.
So we use DoorDash. We started using DoorDash prior to COVID. And then once everything kind of hit, we actually, as funny as it sounds, we actually shut it down because we were just so overwhelmed by just trying to deal with the customers in the store and just the rate that the orders were coming in. And so for our stuff on DoorDash, it was more like if you wanted a corned beef sandwich with some coleslaw, it wasn't a full shopping. It was more like ready to go, quick order things and prepared foods or deli sandwiches. It wasn't any groceries or raw meat and chicken. So we just couldn't really handle it. So we shut it down. We have put it back up because I think things have calmed down a little bit. But we always, again, from a safety perspective, everything's always packaged and in a bag and it's taped up. And I think DoorDash also was taking additional safety measures when they were delivering. So we have utilized them. Just DoorDash, not any other one.
Jeremy, let me.
Yeah, so we don't use any of the services for a few reasons. So most all of them, they are technology companies. That's what a lot of people overlook. For our business needs, we literally change essentially our whole menu on a daily basis. When we work with our farm partners and the people we order our products from, especially the local producers, we give them a budget of what we have to spend versus ordering specific products, which works out better economically for the farmers and for us. But that also means our menu is in flux way, way more than a traditional restaurant is. We've reached out to several of these companies and none of them have a solution that's easy for us to update our menu that frequently. Sometimes we sell out of something in the first 30 minutes that we're open. That's fairly common. So to then take the labor and go into the system and update and all these things, it's just, it's fairly difficult, even with putting count limits on things and that sort of thing. Rachel also touched on something that, like, we just, as a small business, I can't handle that extra influx. So I already have enough trouble between guests coming in to order, phone orders coming in. If I had a third stream, I don't have the labor. I don't have the space. I don't have the materials in-house to produce for that extra amount. So on top of that, from a small business standpoint, those companies take a lot of money from you. And we just don't have that money to spend on that. I'd much rather that 30% per order that they take. I'd rather, donate something to like a local community project or cover my employees' health insurance if I can. Like, those sorts of things are way more important to me in the long run and for the long-term viability of the business versus like trying to cram those few extra dollars in right now.
Let me stand you for a second, Jeremy. Where have you seen difficulties with getting product into the store, bottlenecks or total, just depletion of a certain item? I know farmers are, asking for help right now, and I think they've recently gotten some, but what have you seen?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, we have a few major supply chains of food in the United States. We've got local and regional hubs, and we have these big national hubs, and then there's also international influx. So I think largely what we're starting to see with some things, especially some of the food products that are traded like commodities, such as things like beef and pork and flour and milk to some extent, we're going to start to see the true cost of food come forward. The government is putting so much money into helping, us stay afloat and you stay afloat and everybody together, that a lot of the money that was put into like farm subsidies to bring down the cost of food here in the United States aren't going to be there really soon. So I think that's one thing that people should be prepared for. That 99-cent hamburger you get at a fast food restaurant, there's more than 99 cents in ingredients in that burger. But because of the economies of scale they work on, they can charge that price. So that isn't realistic for a small operator. I can't purchase that volume of food and create something at that price point. Another thing to keep in mind is, on the ends, while there is plenty of product in the market, it's coming to market a little slower. So it takes a little bit more time right now because of issues at meat processing plants and whatnot. They're going through the same things that we are. They're trying to socially distance their employees from each other and within very set systems that didn't allow for that previously. So because of that, we're seeing some costs go up. I know for us, for brisket, for our pastrami,
Yeah.
brisket was low $3 a pound, fluxing up to $4 a pound for raw whole brisket that we use. Now it's in excess of $7 a pound. So it's virtually doubled. We haven't passed that price on to our consumers yet because we're trying to work with some other things, but people should expect to see some changes in pricing. Like, this is the reality. This has been a long time coming in the United States too. Because we've had these different farm subsidies and mass production of homogenized food, there's going to be some shakeups on that level. But you're still going to get good food from the people you like sourcing it from. So whether you're shopping at Dave's or whether you're going to Tibor's or you're coming to us, for food, it's still going to be great quality. You're still going to be, patronizing your favorite business. Things are just going to be a little bit different on some prices from time to time.
Rachel, obviously you're in the meat business primarily. Have you seen similar issues with the cost of what you're bringing in?
Yeah, so we've also seen increases in our raw meat. Not so much on the chicken side, like the chicken and turkey side, but definitely on the meat side. And kosher is always more expensive to begin with. And I think from my understanding, this is where it's more my brother's department, but as much as the grocery store, most of both of our meat suppliers are out of New York. So as much as the kosher grocery establishments have been open in New York and New Jersey, the restaurants haven't been. And there are a lot of them. And also the non-kosher restaurants haven't been open. And again, from my understanding is that when they slaughter the cow, some parts go for kosher and some parts go for non-kosher. So if the non-kosher parts aren't being bought by the restaurants and the hotels and everyone that has been affected with closures, then it's like, well, what's the point if 70% or whatever it is, I don't know exactly, but what's the point if all this is going to go to waste? I have no one to sell it to. We're not going to do it. So that's where the increase has affected us. And we're almost hoping that it might go back down to where the normal price was. That's our hope, but we have no guarantee. But again, we have been sensitive towards it to our customers and are also, doing our best to try and work with it, but just like Dave's and with Jeremy, in the end of the day, we're also a business and we have to pay our suppliers and we have to pay our employees. And so everything kind of trickles down, but we are trying to be, as sensitive to it as possible.
That's unbelievable. I didn't even think about half that. So as we're going to continue on for the next 20 minutes, half hour or so, I really want to encourage anyone who's listening to raise a hand so we can call on you to ask a question or type a question in the chat box. The questions so far have been amazing, and we really want to hear from you guys.
I have another question from Crystal.
Sure.
I'll just read it off the chat box. Have you seen any benefits from the situation? At my workplace, we run a central kitchen that produces about over 2,000 meals a day. This experience has really unified the organization, mid-sized nonprofit, around our central mission, especially as you were saying, with making quick decisions and working with more suppliers. Aaron?
Yeah, I'd speak to a couple of things. As a starting point for us, our team members have been absolutely fantastic and so strong and so committed in showing up together to be there day in and day out for our customers. And I think as many challenges as there have been, as much uncertainty as each day has brought, they've stayed together, and I think the camaraderie in way our team members have leaned on one another. It has, for our customers, has absolutely been inspiring to us, and I think it has been and it's been incredible, truthfully. I think, at times as well for us, I think everyone, I think everyone, when they're going about doing what they're doing in a given day, when they go out to wherever they might go, and call it, specific to me as a grocery store, I think there are components of unsettlement that go with it. And, we've done our very best through what we've done in our stores to have proper procedures set up where, customers are driven to be socially distanced from one another through guided signage and giving each other space and supporting one another in their experience in our stores. And what we do and have seen a lot of is time has gone on is people respecting one another's space, people smiling at one another, maybe giving that person they see in their community a little extra hello, and spending a couple extra minutes maybe to from a good social distance to have a conversation. And I know even from our team members, an extra thank you and nod of gratitude, and this, I think, common message that we all are in this together. And I think those are a few things that, really have come out in what we do.
Thank you. Another question from Adam. Which changes are here to stay in your respective industries? Which are the most detrimental? Are any of the changes better for your business? How about Jeremy?
Man, that's Adam, way to go with the tough ones. Good for that. Yeah, so we don't foresee opening our dining room in the immediate future. As that's an indefinite thing, which could be a year, 6 months, 3, I don't know. So that's a change that for the time being is here to stay, at least in our format. I think the romance of dining is going to be gone for a while, with everything going on. We're all going to want to go out and get tired of cooking and all of that. But how much are you going to enjoy being wrapped in plastic and, being around other people with masks and that sort of thing. So, that's a personal thing we all have to look at and see what we're comfortable with. And we're definitely not going to do it as much. So until I don't know what the solution is, this thing drops off or there's a vaccine or whatever it is that, is going to help us reacclimate to this new normal. We'll see. The changes are hard, and it's we finally, as a business, got to a point where we have 2 years of solid data, so we could make projections for sales, and we were starting to have conversations about growth and possibly another concept or another location or expanding within, and all of that is tabled indefinitely also. So, some of those things, it's, yeah, who knows? There's a lot of confusion with that. On the flip side too, originally we laid off we have 8 employees total. So me and my 2 business partners, Kenny and my wife, Allie. And then we had 2 full-time employees and 3 part-timers. So originally we furloughed everybody. We were able to bring back the full-timers, but now that my dining room's closed, I don't have a position to bring back the part-timers to. So I'd like to find a way to be able to bring those jobs back to the community. Whether it's with those specific people that were furloughed, if they're still available, or, for the sake of the business, when you create jobs, you generate taxes, you pay on that. There's a lot that happens there that benefits everybody as a whole. So, I'd like to see us get back to be able to do some of those things and grow. Just don't know when those things are going to happen. So, for now, we're just operating as we are. Things are okay for us. We're open. We're actually, with less employees, we're actually able to do more for the employees that we have. We're not going to be able to do it full on, but for the next few months, we've been able to cover their health insurance in full. We've been able to guarantee them 40 hours a week. They get 2 consecutive days off. That's pretty good for a restaurant. So, we're happy to be able to kind of, turn a cruddy situation into one that's good for the people that we're able to have with us for the time being.
Well, we don't have a ton of time left, so I'm going to ask kind of one last quick question from all three of you. I'm not going to put you on a timer, but let's, hypothetically say you got about 30 to 45 seconds to answer this question. Starting with Aaron, what can you say to any business owner right now in dealing in this situation? A lot of the listeners are obviously in different industries, but as young leaders and young business owners, I'm sure they can take away something.
Sure. I'd say as a starting point, staying informed, being in tune as much as possible with guidance and following that as a baseline. I'd recommend following your instincts and your values and making sure ultimately where decisions are made, again, those reflect what you stand by. I would say transparency to your teams, whether you're a company that has 5 or 10 or 100 or 5,000 employees, being a clear communicator, making sure people understand what the company's positions are, how the company is looking out for its people, how its business ultimately is supporting those objectives. And I'd say if you follow those things, you put yourself and your people in a position to feel like the company is doing all that it can in a time that we all understand there's uncertainty.
Rachel, just briefly, what about you? What lessons can you give to everyone listening?
I think Aaron touched on a lot of very important things, very valuable things, and I guess one thing is everyone's kind of in the same boat, and we're looking to these bigger organizations for the guidance, and you just have to look at your own individual business and how it operates and have to do what's best for you. I'm not going to make the same decisions as Jeremy's going to make, or Aaron, or probably really anyone, because everyone's business model is different. But I would just say, just do your best, and reach out to people for help if you need it, and just keep the hope alive that we'll all get through this, and and hopefully everyone will be able to sustain and come out on the other end, and kind of rebuild from here and be able to see that growth potentially that Jeremy was speaking about in his own business. And I know that we're also thinking about different things in our business, and hopefully everyone will be able to get to those points and to achieve those goals.
Yeah. Jeremy, back to you again. I mean, obviously your employees are extremely important to you, and it sounds like from a leadership standpoint, that's really key to what you think is important right now. But what else, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, Aaron and Rachel nailed it on the head. I mean, my advice would be, you've got to take action, right? That you have to do. Stay positive and hopeful, and just keep trudging on. Like that's what you got to focus on. You know, as a business owner, you work so hard to build something, and just keep working hard to keep it going.
If I can just add one more thing, I mean, they both, I think we're all, sharing similar messages. And I just want to add, find those ways to connect to your people, to encourage your teams, to keep them feeling positive, in all the means that can come with doing that. Whether it's, whatever it might be, going back to the thank yous and appreciation. I think something we've seen is, see, the reality is we do not know how long this is going to go on, and it can get tiring. It can get very difficult. And I think for the owner, the leader, to find the ways to best engage and continue to keep, your people feeling positive in all the ways possible, is what's going to help your business either continue on, is if you've been going, or kickstart back, if you're getting back online.
I just wanted to chime in with the Federation's emergency food response. The Jewish Federation of Cleveland is here to care for our community. In the face of COVID-19, this work is more important than ever. Over the last 3 months, Federation has worked to assess and respond to needs in our community. Increasing food insecurity stands out as one of the greatest needs. There are many students who depend on receiving government-subsidized kosher meals at school. There are also older adults and community members with disabilities who can no longer access congregate meal services or safely go to the grocery store. Many families are experiencing financial distress and at risk of homelessness and cannot afford groceries while facing loss of income or managing extra childcare expenses. The high cost of Passover food made these challenges more acute. With financial support from Federation, the Jewish Family Service Association, the Mandel JCC's Lunch Plus program, our J Schools, the Cleveland Chesed Center, the Kosher Food Pantry, and Bikur Cholim have responded to these growing needs. These Federation beneficiary agencies and close partner organizations change their models of food delivery overnight. They are safely serving more community members, from young children to frail and isolated seniors, more frequently than ever before. Community members who have questions about resources offered for the Jewish community are encouraged to call our confidential information and referral helpline, Access Jewish Cleveland, at 216-292-4636, or email info@jcfcleve.org. Rachel, Aaron, and Jeremy, thank you very much for being with us tonight. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our panel about the Cleveland food industry and the impact of COVID-19. On behalf of the Jewish Federation of Cleveland and the Young Leadership Division, we'd like to thank you for joining us this evening. Federation knows that it is our responsibility to look out for one another. If you or anyone you know is in need of support or resources, please don't hesitate to let us know. You can also visit jewishcleveland.org, the website's on the chat, for resources and ways to connect while staying at home. Please know the Jewish Federation of Cleveland is here for you. We're all in this together. Also, please join the Federation on Thursday, June 4th from 7 to 8 p.m. for a panel discussion with the writers and producers of Crip Camp, an award-winning documentary on Netflix. Together, we'll learn about the movie, the American with Disabilities Act, and how our Cleveland community is helping to continue this important work.
That's the end of our program tonight. Again, thank you, Rachel, Aaron, Jeremy. You guys were phenomenal. Everyone watching, you know where to get amazing food, and we hope you do that. And we really sincerely want to wish nothing but the best of health to you, your loved ones, anyone who isn't doing well. We'll say a prayer, and thank you so much for attending. Everyone have a great rest of the week.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.